going to get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Donna Groot, and I teach at the Charlotte Jewish Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina. Quick bio, I was a nurse for 20 years, but my original nurse...
So was I.
Oh, another nurse. My original nursing program I did in Israel in Hebrew, and that's how my two lives connect. I've been teaching full-time since 2003, and I've taught all the levels of Tal'am, and I attended the BetterLesson conference in 2017. So what did we learn about there? We learned about making SMART goals. And I looked at it and I thought, well, this is great. This shouldn't be too difficult. And I went to a session kind of like this. And the person said, you know, the first year it was a pretty big disaster. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not like you. Things are going to go okay for me. You just got to make a goal that's specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. Anybody should be able to do that. And I thought, like, I probably should tell you, I teach first grade and I teach fourth and fifth grade. So I was depending on BetterLesson to really help me with my fourth and fifth graders. That was where I was really having my biggest challenge. And so I asked fourth and fifth graders to come up with a goal. We'll get back to that in a minute. First of all, flipping a classroom. I went to a conference maybe 8 years ago, and they said, okay, flip your classroom. Here's what you do. At home, you stand in front of a video camera, videotape yourself giving the lesson. All the kids tune into YouTube, watch the whole lesson, and they come the next day ready to discuss. And I said, that sounds like a lot of extra work for me, and nobody's going to watch it, and I'm still going to have to teach it the next day. So thank you very much, flip classroom. I'm out of here. But I went to that BetterLesson conference, and I actually saw some things that changed how I thought about flipping the classroom. Just quickly, in the past, I would read a book to the class in Hebrew, and I would try to make sure that everybody was with me and discuss the language in the book, and then you know, the kids who could already read it are like glazed over, and the kids who are challenged are like, ah, and you know, I was probably reaching like 2 or 3 in the middle, and it was, you know, it was a lot of work. That was a lot of work, and then I would make a video of the book and then have them listen to it like in real time, not slowed down and discussing every word. And then they introduced me to Edpuzzle, which was amazing because I could take these videos that I had already created, put them in Edpuzzle, stop at certain points along the book, ask a question, and the kids, if they didn't know the answer to the question, they could go back and listen to it again. They could listen to it 4 or 5 times if they want, because I let them set the pace for their learning, which was super cool. Eventually, you'll see how I got there. I settled on Hebrew reading as the major focus for this class. Reading is a very big goal for our entire school, and it's something that parents care a lot about, because when the students leave our school, 2 years later, they have a bar bat mitzvah, and they need to be able to read Hebrew. And if they went to day school and they can't read Hebrew, then their parents are not very excited about that. But the problem was to inspire excitement around something that improves with practice and hard work. You know, just to get the kids to buy into that I can get better at this if I work harder. So, in the beginning, my focus was way too large. I said, okay, so in Hebrew, you've got the speaking, you've got the reading, you've got the writing. Just think about what you'd like to do better and come up with something. And it was awful. They couldn't come up with anything that was measurable. And even if I gave them samples of measurable goals, it was super hard. And my coach really helped me narrow the focus. I'll show you. These are some that I wrote for them. It's hard for you to see. I want to show that I can improve my writing by correcting all my mistakes in my notebook by October 3rd. So I was trying to give them the idea of this is something that is measurable. You can see if you've corrected all your mistakes. Or I want to speak Hebrew in class each day, and I will make a tally in my notebook. A lot of people chose that one, but not a lot of people tallied. And I want to have no highlighted mistakes in my notebook, because each week I would collect their notebooks. They have a question of the day that they answer in Hebrew, and I would highlight their mistakes, and then they got a chance to correct them. Now I just want to give you a second. Think about your situation and try to scribble down an immeasurable goal for whoever it is that you teach. Because I tell you what, if you cannot write one, they can't write one. Because you have to be able to I like that. I went to a presentation this morning, and she said she was preparing for a half marathon. And so she used that to show the students that she had to have her own goals. And my students loved that I had a coach. That was fun for them. I would say, can I show my coach your video? And they're like, whoa, my teacher is in class. Is anybody having a really easy time writing a measurable goal? You're having an easy time? Let me hear yours.
Yes, I've done it for a long time. Decode Chumash texts with no errors by Rosh Hashanah.
And how often do they do that? Every day? Is it something they do every day in class?
Every day.
Okay. But how is it measured?
Are you asking how I actually did it in real life?
Yeah.
2 ways.
Okay.
Voice stream and an in-person reading.
Oh, okay. So it was something they practiced and then they read with you? Right. Okay. Anybody else want to share a goal? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's an upcoming goal. I'm switching my first grade room to a flexible seating plan. So I have a pretty large goal of making it work. Without anyone.
You're going to let them choose where they sit?
Yeah, but I'm going to set some very strong ground rules. They can do it nicely, great. If they can't, I choose. So it's nice, black and white. But I'm really hoping that it can address kids' needs in terms of what they're able to. The best way for them to work. So I have small goals leading up to that, making them try every seat in the first couple of weeks and seeing which one they like, trying new ones every so often in different pieces. But to me, that's like a huge piece for me.
We're going to have to break it down into smaller.
Correct, because I want it to succeed so badly, and I want them to love it. Because I really think that it's the way.
Could even be a goal for them to choose a seat where they can best learn.
Right. So I'm going to talk to them about goals, and I'm going to have them set goals for small sort of baby step goals. But I think that also the running example sort of started my mind thinking about how I can come up with my own example that my 6-year-olds will relate to.
Buy into.
So I'm trying to think about that.
Excellent. So, even the disaster was worthwhile. It took me 2 years, but I loved flipping the classroom. It became, my class became a more joyful place, and the students were engaged in their progress, and they actually told me when they were ready to move on. They told me when they were ready to take the quiz. One thing that I found really helpful, also a slide you can't really see, was I laid out the steps. So like when they came in, they say the morning blessings and write the date, and then they answer the question of the day. And we would discuss the question of the day and then learn a bit of the Torah reading of the week, and then work on the story of the week. And here's where they had choices. They could look at the pictures and/or read for themselves to get an idea of what the story is about, and talk with me about it. Like I would just have just the pictures up, and we would discuss what we saw in the pictures, all in Hebrew, obviously. And then they could try the Ed puzzle, and some of them chose to try the Ed puzzle first and then discuss with me. And then most of them, they would either do this or this, and if they completed that, then they would draw a picture to help illustrate the Kahoot game that we were going to do at the end. Daber, I'm going to give you all the links at the end, was a website that I use for reinforcing vocabulary. And then once they had played it enough and they were ready to take the quiz, then they would take the quiz, and then we would celebrate our learning with a Kahoot game at the end of the week. So how did I know that it was making a positive impact? Because students started volunteering to do things. So I'm going to show you a short little video. This day, I want to explain who these kids are. This was our lowest level Hebrew class, the most challenging group to teach. Some of them came to our school in 3rd or 4th grade, so they missed those basic years, 1st and 2nd grade, learning to read and write in Hebrew. They were terrified of reading out loud in class. And generally super challenged. And so we were doing this review of Rosh Hashanah terms, and one of the kids said, "Can I read it?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." So I took a step back and I let him start reading a question, and then I thought, well, and then they started raising their hand. Other kids came up and they took over the lesson. I grabbed my phone. So this was taken with my phone. Not the greatest video, but here we go.
טוב מאוד. אוקיי, עכשיו רבקה.
צריכים לראות דרך הסך. כוכבים. כן.
טוב מאוד. אוקיי, חנה.
זה אצבע הלולב.
מאיזה עץ בא לולב? כן, ליאת? כן? לא. כן, ליאת. כן, אבל איך אומרים? עץ, תא, לא. לא. איך קוראים לאמא של היילי? עץ תמר, מצוין. אוקיי, ליאת, את רוצה ללמד? אוקיי, עכשיו ליאת.
אוקיי. למה יש טעם וגם
ריח. כן, אדם? מה? אתרוג. בואו נבדוק. אתרוג, יפה מאוד.
Okay. So that was a really fun day. The other thing that I really struggled and my coach was super helpful with is assessing reading. It's similar to your idea. I would give them a paragraph or a page in a book, and I would have them read it at the beginning before we had learned any of the vocabulary, and then I would have them read it again at the end. And then this is the part that takes a little bit of my time, but I think it's worth it. I put together a video of each sentence, how they read it before, how they read it after, and then I gave them an assessment tool so that they were able to assess themselves. How did I do? Why did I do better the second time? And I think that seeing that progress and seeing the results of their labors, like in living color, was super helpful for them. Now the students videotaped each other, so again, it's a little blurry a little bit. We're just going to watch like 30 seconds of this one.
אמר, אני רוצה לחיות בנבחרת הכדורסל. שחר אמר, אני רוצה לחיות בנבחרת הכדורסל. רונן אמר, גם אני רוצה לחיות בנבחרת. רונן אמר, גם אני רוצה לחיות בנבחרת. ברק חשב, אני כל רוצה לחיות בנבחרת רצה. ברק השב, אני כל כך רוצה לחיות בנבחרת הכדורסל.
So, I mean, I think even if you don't know Hebrew, you can see that she's much more confident the second time around. So based on my success, these two basically successes helped me see that reading really was the key. And that reading, that going forward, I'm just going to have them write goals connected to reading, because that is the thing that is the most measurable, and but we'll still have individualized lessons, and they will be able to choose different goals. Oh, goals have to be visible. If they can't see their goal, if you can't see their goal, they'll forget what their goal is. So each student has, like, because I teach in someone else's classroom, they have like a box that they keep all their supplies in, and the goal is plastered to the box, because if they can't see it, they're never going to remember it. So these are the goals that I'm going to share with them this year, the ones that I wrote at the end of this past year. And I think that these are much more measurable and useful. Did want to go back to one thing, though. When I was having them write their own goals, there were some like surprises, some things that I didn't think that were going to be useful goals that turned out to be amazing. Like this one student said, I'm going to write 3 new words in the back of my notebook, every day, so I'll get like 15 new words every week. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to do that. He did it. He did it. I couldn't believe it. His whole back of his notebook, he'd like written this whole dictionary. It was beautiful. So sometimes they'll write a goal and they'll surprise you, and you'll like swallow that skepticism and let them try. Maybe they can. So these are ones that I felt like were much more useful going forward. Showing improvement in reading by having less than 3 mistakes when I read the test page for the second time. So, I mean, perhaps not having any mistakes, that's a nice goal, but maybe a more achievable goal would be to only have 3 mistakes. Depends on the kid, actually. Reading 30 words per minute by my second reading, because one thing that's nice when you videotape them is it's easy to count up how many words per minute they're reading. Showing improvement in vocabulary, but on writing down the 2 new words. I've put that in there because it worked so well for that one student. Show understanding of Hebrew text by getting greater than 90% on my Edpuzzle quizzes. So the Edpuzzle was just brilliant. The rubric I used, I found online. It wasn't specifically for Hebrew, but these were just like thought questions that I wrote for them. What do you see in the readings before and after? What do you notice about your reading after you practice it? And a lot of them wrote, I didn't sound like a robot. What did you learn about your ability to read Hebrew? Many of them wrote, if I practice, I really can do it. And I really think that it's important for them to feel that success. And does this change your goal? I think I'll probably see more changes in the goals when I have the goals all centered around reading and vocabulary. Okay, so this was the rubric. It's just a basic fluency rubric. It's for English, but it worked fine for Hebrew. Do you sound like you're talking to a friend, or are you sounding out each word like a syllable? And then so they grade themselves on how they did in the before reading, and then they grade themselves on the after reading, and hopefully the total number score improves. So, the main 3 technological things that I've used is Edpuzzle, Daber, and Kahoot. And Edpuzzle has lots of videos that are ready to go, not a lot of videos in Hebrew. So I had to create most of those. Daber is a great resource because it's like made for Hebrew. And Kahoot there are Israeli teachers who are using Kahoot. So sometimes you can find a Kahoot that you can just kind of tweak. Does everybody know what these things are? Yes? Okay. So, any questions? Yes.
Can you go back to the slide?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you said for Edpuzzle, which is like a platform in which you can put a video in and add questions along the way, things like that. You said it was hard to find original content in Hebrew, right?
Yes.
And you say, I make my own, then you go really briefly over this, like this is something that everybody's supposed to know. So how do you make your own? And how do you put in Edpuzzle?
Okay, so in Edpuzzle, it's very user-friendly. The ones that I make are typically storybooks that I read the storybook and I record myself reading it, and then I make the video in Movie Maker.
Okay.
And then I upload that to YouTube because that goes much faster than if you take it from your computer straight into Edpuzzle. If it's saved in YouTube first, it's much faster. It takes forever when you just try to do it from your computer. And then once it's in Edpuzzle, then I just listen to it and I pause it and add a question to check for their understanding. And then it grades them, it records the grades, it's beautiful. Now the kids all have to be able to sign in to Edpuzzle. You create a classroom and it has code, and they have to sign in and use the code to be able to get to my content. I also use it with high school kids I teach, yes.
Donna, I'm Jeff from BetterLesson.
Yeah.
You focused a lot in your presentation about student learning, which I appreciate. I want to ask a question about your learning.
Okay.
Because you described a part of it as a nightmare, and then you talked about it being 2 hard years. So what kept you going during that time?
My coaches. No, I think it was these sparks of brilliance. I think seeing my students get engaged in it. I mean, it wasn't horrible. The goal setting thing was super challenging. It was challenging for the students. It was challenging for me to help them, and but flipping the classroom, that was beautiful. That kept me going.
But you persisted with the goal setting, right? You still do that?
Yeah, I'm still working on it.
So why? I mean, what keeps you?
Because I feel like the students, to get their buy-in, they need to feel like they're part of the discussion. And even though they're like, just tell us what to do, just tell us what to write, I still believe that truly, if they buy into it, that it will be better.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes.
When you set the goals,
Yes.
does each child modify the goal for him or herself?
Yes. That's just
So these
like
are
a
the-
template.
So these are the general goals, and
Yeah.
some kids maybe, I'll read it 10 words a minute, I'll read it 50 words a minute. And so how do you present that to the children so they can personalize it?
When I do, at the beginning, I assess them and I have them do that reading cold, and we see how many words they're reading. So when the first time they read, they can read 10 words in a minute, then setting a goal to read 30 words a minute is probably not an achievable goal. Right. So I have that was just a sample number there. I mean, I would love to have everybody reading 40 or 50 words a minute at the end of the year. That would be a nice thing to happen. But basically, I want to see progress. So if they read 10 words a minute the first time they read, and they read 20 words a minute at the end of the unit, then they can see that progress. So that's what we're looking for, is the progress.
How often do you do the video reading?
I do that. We split our 4th and 5th graders into levels according to their Hebrew level. So that's why I had that whole class of low level. And then we're on a trimester program, and we have 3 Judaica teachers for the 4th and 5th grade, and we each take a third. And then they switch to a new teacher at the end of the trimester. So I have each group for 9 weeks, and I do 3 videotapings in the 9 weeks.
Does that continue with the other teachers?
Yes.
The kids have consistency?
And we have to, like Hadass was talking this morning about like meeting and talking. We meet and we talk and we say, you know, what we're doing, what's working, let's try it this way. And so we try to have like a consistent thing, but each teacher teaches to her strength. Like my thing is Israeli history and modern Hebrew, and then one is like all about like Tanakh, Bible history after the Torah, the prophets, and then one person, she's big on Torah, you know. So we each person teaches to their strength, but we're all trying to get the kids to speak in Hebrew and build their vocabulary.
That's nice. It's an unusual model, and they get.
I've not found another school that does it.
It's very cool. Because they get all three teachers, they get to enjoy three different perspectives.
And actually, the first year we split them, we each took one group and kept them for the whole year. And then at the end of one of the trimesters, this kid, Jack, he raised his hand and goes, "What do you mean I'm not going to get to see Morachani?" And I'm like, we should have thought of that. That's a great idea. And so that next summer, we took his suggestion, and the kids switched. And so they don't get time to get sick of us. They get to, you know, meet 3 different teachers, 3 different teaching styles, and everybody's teaching to their strength. Everybody's teaching something they're really passionate about. So that's cool. Any other questions? Then I think
Your first graders?
What's that?
Do you do goal setting with your first graders?
I have not. I really, because I was struggling more with my 4th and 5th graders, that I focused on them at first. But I would love to hear how it works for you.
Yeah,
with first graders.
New experiments, we'll see.
Yeah. Flexible seating. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm excited about that. We'll see.
Yeah, I've been teaching first grade. This is my 9th year teaching first grade. They generally do better when I tell them where to sit. But I would be interesting to hear.
It's the first time I'm trying this, and I think, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the days I've let them choose, it's not worked out very well. Yeah. But maybe if it was a routine thing and they, if they buy into it.
Present it.
Well, that's right.
Yes.
I was going to say, now that you've found success with the 4th and 5th graders, would you consider having them set their own goals in first grade for some aspect of it?
Maybe. I really want to get this off the ground really, really well. The problem is with first grade, it's a Hebrew immersion classroom, and they come to me, and I mean, it's, you know, like deer in the headlights, and I'm talking to them, and I really try not to bring English into the classroom. And I feel like to have them set a measurable goal that I would need to bring English into the classroom. That's what's slowing me down.
So do they write their goals in Hebrew?
No, these goals, they write them in English about Hebrew, these 4th and 5th graders, yeah. The person who talked to me 2 years ago, she said her students all wrote their goals in Hebrew and they all discussed their goals in Hebrew, and I've yet to see how that could work. You know, you've just gotta experiment and see what works for you.
I'm trying to flex sitting for the first time for 3rd graders. And I'm kind of like, oh, what did I do? Because all the furniture's coming in, the beef bags and all the stuff, so I'm a nervous wreck. But
Don't show them that you're nervous.
no, I know that's my problem.
That would be your downfall if you show them that you're worried.
Right.
I think kids will appreciate. I don't know. I had people come into my room after getting it together, and one teacher said to me, "He's like, oh, if only I had this when I was in school, I would have had a much better experience because I have the stools that like can move a bit and bouncy balls and I think that it just acknowledges the fact that not every, and especially in first grade, they can't sit for very long.
Right.
They really can't.
Right.
So if we sort of change it up, move around.
Yeah.
We're moving every 10 minutes in first grade.
I was doing that anyway, so I figured I'd add this extra element. So when we're moving, it's.
I do have wiggle seats that some of them fall off of. And I tell them they can stand up as long as they can still touch their chair and they're not like dancing around the room.
I bought lap desks so they can do work on the floor.
Stand up.
Our kids who like that, and that's fine.
Your cushion and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
am excited. It's gonna be. It's
very nice.
I think it's
It's just great. Just go with the flow.
All right. Any other questions? then thank you very much. Yeah.